In 1847, a depiction of Ireland was captured in this way by an Irish artist named James Maconie. The streets of Ireland were saturated with people's bodies, and mothers, with their hungry children in their arms, pleaded for a few pieces of bread. Poverty, hunger, despair, and death were omnipresent. The Irish potato famine, also known as the Great Hunger, took the lives of 1 million Irish people in just 7 years. As a result of this famine, 11% of the entire Irish population died. This was such a major disaster that even till today, Ireland's population has not regained its numbers. Even after the passing of this disaster, for many decades, Ireland remained a destitute and backward nation. But today, if you take a look at the list of the world's richest nations, you'll see Ireland as the second entry. Ireland is recognized as the most educated, affluent, and happiest nation in the world. The economy of Ireland is growing at such a fast pace that in a few years Ireland will become the wealthiest country in the world. But Ireland doesn't have trillions of dollars of oil reserves like Norway and Qatar, nor does it have a small population like Singapore or Luxembourg, nor does it have a historical advantage like Switzerland. So how did it transform so much? How did Ireland, from the depths of famine and death? Let's go back to the 19th century when life in Ireland was extremely difficult. At that time, Ireland was under the control of the British Empire, which exploited it severely. The people of Ireland were treated as second-class citizens. 90% of Ireland's economy was dependent on agriculture, and about 80% of the land in Ireland grew the same thing, potatoes, which we also call alu. In the 17th century, Ireland was the first region in Europe to cultivate potatoes. These potatoes were the reason why the population of Ireland was growing faster than anywhere else in Europe. Indeed, it was growing at a rapid rate. In 1700, the population of Ireland was 3 million, in other words, 30 lakh, and this increased to 5 million in 100 years. Furthermore, prior to that, in 1840, the population of Ireland had reached 8 million. In merely 150 years, there was a 266% population growth rate, and there was only one reason for this, and that was the potato. 1 acre of potato crop and cow's milk were enough to meet the needs of a whole Irish family, and for this reason, because it could also be easily grown, and in a large quantity, it quickly became the main food source for every family in Ireland. This became a big threat to Ireland because the entire population was dependent on one food source. And for this reason, when blight fell in Ireland in 1845 and the potato crops began to be wiped out, millions of people started dying. You all may not realize the enormity of this tragedy, and even now, Ireland hasn't fully recovered from its effects. Let me explain with an example. In 1840, Ireland had a population of 8 million. In 1845, a catastrophic famine hit Ireland, destroying almost 40% of the potato crops. And 1 year later, in 1846, all the potato crops were eradicated. Imagine if you only had one thing to eat and suddenly it was completely gone. During this intense crisis, the British Empire offered no help to Ireland. Absolutely none. Over a span of 10 years from 1845 to 1855, there was a reduction of 3 million people in the population of Ireland. Out of these 3 million, 1 million people died of starvation and diseases, while the remaining 2 million left Ireland and headed for America. Such a massive immigration had never happened in American history before. And as a result, by 1860, 81% of immigrants in America were Irish. This was such a significant loss that even after 200 years, Ireland is still the only country in the world whose current population is considerably less than the population in 1840. The famine concluded in about 6 or 7 years, but the state of Ireland continued to deteriorate. Ireland gained independence from the British Empire in 1922, however, just a decade after. It suffered a significant blow with the Great Economic Depression in 1932. Ireland was already isolated from the world, and its relations with Britain were not on good terms. This consequently led to a severe crisis in its economy. During this Great Depression, the economies of the entire world were toppled, except for one country, the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was disconnected from the international bank due to its policies of nationalization and protectionism. And therefore, this crisis didn't bring about any significant impact on it. Leaders of Ireland started emulating the example of the Soviet Union in Ireland. Large corporations were nationalized. Imports were halted to protect local industry. Big corporations were nationalized and imports were stopped to preserve the local industry. However, this had a very negative impact on Ireland's economy. Ireland did not have its own natural resources, and nor was there any large industry like the rest of Europe. That's why the halt in imports led to an extreme shortage of raw materials, and within just 10 years, the situation worsened to an extent that 500,000 more Irish people had to leave Ireland after World War II. While the rest of Europe was advancing, Ireland was becoming poorer. But this was all going to change. In 1960, Ireland's Prime Minister Sean Lemass, in collaboration with renowned Irish economist T. Whitaker, decided that now the final economic policies would need adjustment. Both of them together created a development plan that aimed to alter Ireland's destiny. The nationalized companies in Ireland were privatized again, taxes on companies were relieved to attract foreign investment. Taxes were set, imports initiated, and the major work was establishing a free zone was created, where no company had to pay any tax. Ireland collected money from all the big businessmen and used it in the free zone. An airport was also built in this free zone, connecting this industrial area with the rest of the world. This area is also known as the Shannon Free Zone, and it is known to be the world's first modern free trade zone. In just 6 years, these policies had a huge impact on Ireland's economy. Whereas businessmen in the rest of Europe were straining under increasing taxes, Ireland became a paradise due to their zero tax policy. Big companies started relocating their manufacturing to Ireland, which included companies like Intel and De Beers. After their economic success, Ireland's next goal was to join the European Economic Alliance. During this period, in 1967, Ireland introduced a free education scheme across the country. Education was free for every student till undergraduate level. Even secondary school books were covered by the government. Gradually, the state of Ireland began to change. However, in the 1970s, Ireland was hit with another blow in 1970s due to the aftermath of the Arab-Israel War. Due to oil sanctions, UK and the entire Western world's economy was shaken up. Banks were defaulting, industries were shutting, and unemployment was increasing. But this time Ireland was prepared to face such a crisis. Ireland made itself more favorable in the eyes of the rest of Europe by passing certain laws. It reduced income tax from 20% to 10%. It made it easier to hire and fire employees. In rest of Europe, businesses had to meet requirements like advanced salaries and notice periods to fire an employee. In Ireland, these mandatory requirements were abolished, and as a result of this Ireland started to appear as a business-friendly country in the eyes of companies. Within the next 20 years, Ireland underwent a transformation. Poverty reduced significantly, and billions of dollars started flowing into Ireland. But something even more astonishing occurred. They were coming to Ireland, but an even more astonishing thing happened in 1993 when the European Union announced the single market, after which Ireland became literally open to the entire world thanks to tax-free policies, a friendly environment, and excellent law and order conditions. Large corporations from around the world began to set up their offices in Ireland. Foreign investment was so high that in just 10 years, from 1990 to 2000, foreign investment in Ireland went from 2.2% to 49.2%. With the arrival of so many companies, numerous jobs began to created. Taxes were low, salaries were high, people's purchasing power significantly increased. People spent money, economic activity boomed, demand was created, companies came, triggering a significant investment loop, and the government came into possession of so much money that it started openly spending on infrastructure and welfare. By 2007, Ireland had become the third wealthiest country in Europe. Ireland's per capita income was 40% higher than Britain, the same Britain that for 150 years Ireland was once dominated and has now become much poorer. This is revenge. We hope that India and Pakistan also take similar revenge from Britain. Ireland's story instills a hope. It shows that no matter how terrible the situation is, there's always a way out. Poverty isn't anyone's destiny. Trustworthiness, hard work, and planning can modify any scenario. Today, Ireland serves as a tax haven for the entire world. In 2015, Apple transferred assets worth $300 billion from the US to Ireland to evade taxes. An educated workforce, exceptional infrastructure, and low crime rate are the factors making Ireland extremely appealing to businessmen worldwide. And this allure will soon transform it into the wealthiest nation in the world. We consulted numerous sources for creating this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.